In this video, I'm going to be talking about the South Node in Aries and North Node in Libra placement in the natal birth chart. So let's just begin at the very beginning. So the North Node and South Node are two mathematical points in the sky that show you where you're coming from and where you're going, or where you're meant to go. Well, the North Node shows you and points toward a place of enlightenment and spiritual growth and evolution in this lifetime, and really showing you what you're meant to step into. Who are you meant to become in this lifetime? What are you meant to cultivate if you want growth? If you want to become a better, more advanced, wise version of yourself. But the South Node can indicate talents that we come in that we're so familiar with and good at from previous lifetimes or from our early life, because there's two ways of thought about that. The South Node is what we're coming in with, what we're innately good at, what we bring forth in this lifetime, and gifts that we can use in North Node ways and to teach others that wisdom that we have inside of us. However, the South Node can indicate unhealthy habit patterns that is so natural for us to keep going back to, that we tend to notice we get stuck and they become unhealthy habit patterns that we need to break and choose something different and to move into new and healthier habit patterns, that we need to go towards and integrate, which is our North Node. So if we keep, if we're so stuck in our South Node, then we will not find that sense of meaning and purpose and joy that we're looking for. And if we're toward our North Node, then what about dropping into what we're familiar with? What about coming home? So it really is a balance, and that's what we seek. We strive to create balance, and equilibrium between the two different poles, the south and the north node pole. And speaking of which, balance is the North Node in Libra lesson. So let's dive right in. So the South Node in Aries. First of all, I have my sun in the sign of Aries and my moon in the sign of Libra. And so I'm going to offer you slack if you have this particular placement, because, especially because I'm filming this in June of 2023, when the North Node is actually going to move into the sign of Libra in July of in July of this year. It's going to move into Aries, by the way. So it's going to be opposite you. So you're going to have your reverse nodal return. So you're going to be diving back into your south node when the north node is in the sign that your south node's in, and you're going to be finding a way to come back into balance, um, and learn lessons that are the higher vibration of your south node. And there are also healthier lessons that you may not have known and not have, is sort of taking the shadow sides and releasing them and then moving towards the healthier, higher sides of whatever sign that your south node is in. So that'll be very interesting. But in a way, feel less drawn toward the south node on a soul level, and yet you want to stay there because of the comfort level of it. But in a way, as you grow, you start to integrate more of the north node throughout your life. And then the south node never goes away, but go back, towards that, and always sort of looming, just there. It's always there. You're never going to get rid of it. But when it comes to the shadow sides of it, that is what we must release. So, the South Node in Aries indicates being someone who is very bold, very determined, very courageous. And you had a lot of courage, a lot of guts, very high energy, and very, I don't want to say stamina, but, sort of high voltage placement where it was a fiery, feisty, very um, sort of, it can be argumentative and it can be, um, self-righteous in terms of the actual placement of the South Node in Aries. So it was all about fighting to survive. Because this was the whole thing. You were fighting to survive. You were fighting for your own needs and wants. And life in the past or past lives, um, it was a battle. It was a battlefield where you had to protect yourself, fend for yourself. You couldn't rely on other people. It was all about you getting what you want. And so something that comes to mind with this is, being, trench warfare. If you think about it in World War One, where what was that? Where um, there was this constant fear of something happening, constant fear of you being attacked. There's sort of been any minute now something is going to happen. Any minute now my peace and security is going to get threatened or my resources are going to get taken away from me. So this is just this unsettled, very nervous, very on guard feeling with the South Node in Aries, where you're, on your toes, waiting for the next thing to happen, waiting to get in, fight for yourself, defend yourself. And it was this constant, battle where you needed to work hard and fight and survive. Um, so there is this, need to always fight to get what you want, and always, go back to that in this lifetime coming in. So there is this sense of being very sensitive and being very vulnerable and very insecure and very sensitive to what could hurt you, what could attack you. So there is this need to, again, protect yourself, to fight for what you want for your own survival. So, war and, the battle kind of feeling comes in with this. So, not relying on others. You may have been in an environment where it was difficult to rely on others, and maybe it could be that you were not meant to do this, and when you would do this, it wouldn't bring you the reward, the results, the what you're looking for. Maybe potentially, but it's very hard to rely and trust others in this particular lifetime, because you feel coming in like you need to um, live a life that is according to you, and always it's again um, your needs and your wants. There's so many ways of saying this. So anyway, so another trait with this is a directness, being very blunt, honest, and direct, and losing, care and consideration. And is what I'm going to say helping someone or hurting someone, offending someone? Is it nice, respectful, mean, valuable to another person or whatever? So it became where you became used to and taught in unhealthy ways to be direct, to say what you wanted to say, to get what you wanted to get, where cooperation was not a huge part of the picture. And maybe there's this sense of coming in with the South Node in Aries of feeling incomplete, feeling like you need someone else to complete you, or fill that puzzle piece. The puzzle pieces come together at a deep soul level, because remember, we're talking about soul astrology here with the nodes. So very very direct, very assertive, honest, which can be, if used in an unhealthy, unevolved way, at the expense of other people in your life. So, that's something to be mindful of. Something with the South Node in Aries is you really learned to think on your feet, to just think in a moment, to, I need this, I want this, I want to say this, I want to do this, and I'm just going to do whatever it takes to get it. And there may have been rough survival situations where you had to act quickly and get in there and get what you needed. Yeah. So this is, something that you bring in with, when you need something. It's not necessarily, considering the values and, opinions and the sakes of other people. It is doing something for you on a moment's notice, on the spur of a moment, because it's what you want. And this does not have to be, a bad thing. At best, you are very self-sufficient and very independent. However, that needs to be brought into balance with your North Node. So, so there is this impulsive quality, there's this aggressive quality, because the downside of Aries and Mars energy, because Aries is an incredibly bold, initiating, pioneer sign that takes the reins of its life, takes the lead of its life, says, okay, I'm not going to wait for anyone to do it for me, I'm going to do it myself, and I am going to just be authentic, and I'm going to get what I want because I want it and I want to go after it. So, but with this, it can be, again, at the expense of relationship. So these impulsive tendencies where you're doing something at the spur of the moment, in I don't want to say a childlike way, but in a way the planet Saturn is important to consider when it comes to maturity, and especially because Saturn is exalted, the planet Saturn is exalted in the sign of Libra, and so there are many lessons to learn in terms of maturity, when it comes to your relationships in this lifetime, and this could be the case for any child growing up, and especially for the people who have this particular placement. And so, yeah. So there's this aggression that comes in. You come in with a strong sense of who you are. I know who I am. I know what I want. I know what I'm here to do, what I want to achieve. I know where I want to go. And so you're very strong in yourself. And it's almost a protection of yourself. So I'm coming in with trying to maintain self-sufficiency, trying to maintain yourself and standing on your own 2 feet. So, really, cooperation, getting along with other people, sharing, teamwork, all of these traits in your earlier years, and especially if you have a lot of planets in Aries close to that South Node, it may not be a huge strong suit for you. And that may need work. That may need some time to be worked on and sort of brought into balance. And it's not going to take a day or many years. It's going to take your whole life and possibly many lifetimes. And so don't feel bad if you keep going back to those unhealthy tendencies, because the North Node is a new area, which is totally new to you, and you're stepping into that area. You're not very experienced and wise, and have a lot of just wisdom in that particular area. So, yeah. So, when it comes to being in, relationships, there can be difficulty with caring for somebody else's needs, as well, putting others before you, when it can actually work out better for you in your life. So, another thing is this mentality that in life there are winners and losers. Where you want to fight, you want to win. It feels good to be the best, win, to to get what you want, to have what you want, to that fire, that self-confidence, that adrenaline rush, that excitement, and that passion that you get when it comes to competitions, which is a positive thing, but where it can hurt relationships is it can be a negative thing. So this must be released, where you can see both sides and everyone is equal. Everyone has an opinion, everyone has something to say, and everyone has equal value and the same amount of importance and right as anybody else, and no one is above anyone else. Everyone's special, therefore no one's special. So that's something to this as well. So another trait with this is having a sort of short fused anger, where your buttons get pushed easily, and when they do, you can become, it can be easy to get fired up, angry, frustrated, and speak absolute tactless speech to others. This can be where you say what you say, and you do something without considering the consequences of your actions, which can be a shadow side of this placement. So it's about tapping into your soul, because this is ultimately about what your soul wants, not what your ego wants. So putting your ego aside to make room for the soul, to allow space for the soul to move in a direction of greater meaning. So not letting your ego, where me versus you, I want what I want, etc. Not letting that run the show, but instead tapping into compassion, understanding, and peace and connection with others. So, and as I said before, and maybe I hinted at this before, is when you put your own needs first in relationships where it can be at the expense of another person and where you're not connecting with that other person, balancing with that other person can be detrimental to you. And so there is this innate feeling like your needs are more important than somebody else's. And when you release the need to always, get what you want, get what you need, then you can feel like, okay, I can connect with this person more and, share and have a partnership, because that is going to feel good on a soul level. So, another trait is, sort of, imposing, values and certain things onto other people. And that's another downside of this. But yeah, this lifetime is, saying it really is not about you. That's what, that North Node is saying. It's about you and then somebody else, in a partnership, you and your connections to others. So looking at this from a perspective of really, your early life, in terms of, we were to look at this from that perspective, we could say that as a child growing up, maybe there was aggression in the household. Maybe you were judged, shamed, put down, teased, hurt, or taught that, collaboration wasn't the way where you maybe were in an environment, and I don't want to make any assumptions, but there may have been some violence, some aggression, some fighting going on, which really put you in the shadow sides, and keep you in the shadow sides of the South Node. This could be abuse at an extreme level. This could be just being hurt or being treated in a very poor, unnurturing, unloving, maybe even harsh, unfair, and just, really mean and hurtful way, where you didn't feel like you were loved, nurtured, and given the things that you needed and wanted on an emotional level that you wanted. So there could be this difficult and very unloving relationship when it comes to family, and from parents or siblings. And this is not to assume this is the way it is for everyone who has their South Node in Aries, but looking at drama and conflict where it can be unhealthy, and having the awareness to look at that and noticing how it makes you feel on a soul level, knowing that, okay, I'm not going to go there, this is not right for me, this is not where I'm meant to go, this is not going to bring me the peace and joy that I'm craving in this lifetime. So having the awareness to look at that is going to be a really good thing, a very wise thing for you to do. Now, with the North Node in Libra, the North Node is what you're pointing towards. Destiny, it's your northern star, it's your dharma. It is that point where you can see, and it becomes a point where you just feel from a place of an inner authority inside telling you that this is where you need to go. This is what I need to bring into my life. So the North Node in Libra is about being in relationship. You're here to do relationship. You're here to be in partnership, getting along with others, sharing, collaboration, is important, especially in a committed relationship or marriage. Really settling down and establishing a marriage with a partner is going to be huge and a very profound spiritual experience for you. It's not about fighting anymore. You don't have to fight anymore. Now it's time to see the good and see the light, and see what other people can give to you, and see what, collaboration and unlearning what you have learned in previous lifetimes that keeps you feeling alone, stuck, and unhappy. Now it's time to unwind that and to connect with somebody else, which may be, difficult to open up. Um, but this is something healthy for you to move towards. So it's not about fighting. It's about understanding where the other's coming from, being very peaceful, working out solutions, and having those kind of relationships, of back and forth relationships. So establishing balance and harmony, balancing your needs and wants with another person can be something quite amazing for this placement. So balancing, think of Libra as the scales, where it's not this, it is, like this. These are the scales. One is not over, too much over the other. So yeah, establishing this balance between you and another person, and the peace, the getting along, the sharing, the connecting, the understanding, and the sympathy for other people can be a huge part of this. So establishing harmony, opening up to beauty as well in your life can also be another part of this. This also deals with working with somebody else, finding solutions with somebody else, and offering up your advice, wisdom, and what you want, and also learning and listening and engaging and having those conversations with others, and doing things more in a collaborative way. So it really does take two to tango, and that's what you're here to learn, is to have that dance that you want. It really takes you considering the needs of another person, working with the other person, doing things for other people, getting along with them. These are all really important lessons to learn here. Co-independence. With this, you're you're working with another, you're helping them along. You're being in a relationship with them, but not at the expense of yourself, which is the shadow side of Libra, which can fall to codependence, leaning so heavily upon another that you lose your sense of self and become enmeshed in that relationship, which is what you don't want. But it is co-independent. Sure, with somebody else, you have this relationship while not leaving behind yourself. So really, you being true to yourself, or working with and sharing your life with another person. Being on a bicycle built for two, understanding what it means to do things with another person, sharing that spotlight, sharing those experiences, connecting, partnership, things being in tandem, not doing things alone, that sense of togetherness, that sense of bonding that you can feel, and that love and that friendship and that, again, relationship that you can have is something that your soul wants. And it is for you to move toward, where doors are probably going to be opening in your direction to move toward that. So this can be helping others achieve what they want as well, with seeing yourself through the eyes of another person. Is, that your life is made up of relationships. From the moment that you were born, you were in relationship to your mom and your dad. Understanding of seeing your life through the lens of somebody else, and seeing, what am I saying and what am I doing and how's that affecting other people? How's that impacting other people? Very important thing to consider. Is it serving them, empowering them, helping them, making them draw them closer to me? Are people more happy, more relaxed, more at peace, and more willing to be in relationship with me, or more drawn away, more dissuaded, more, less willing to be in relationships? So these are all things to consider. And, another thing is, when it comes to making a decision, you come with a really decisive, strong knowing of what you want, and you can make decisions quickly and impulsively. But now another skill is to, to think before you act. This is huge, to have a decision that you want to act upon and weigh out all the different sides, to consider all the different angles, all the different points of view before making a choice, to really think about your choice and the consequences of your actions, to intellectualize it from a rational, mental perspective, and through healthy input and validation from other people. This can be where you can make decisions that you truly feel good about, that you don't regret later on. So, this is where I was making my video about the North Node in Scorpio placement. And you do want to be careful that you are talking about the North Node in Scorpio and not the North Node in Libra. I've heard several astrologers talk about that particular placement, like the North Node in Libra, and they are missing the deeper spiritual side of the North Node in Scorpio. So yeah. But this North Node is about, relationships with other people. That is the lesson for this North Node. So yeah, weighing decisions, eventually making the choice, but considering all the different sides, thinking before you act, having a more, and asking another person, what do you think? How do you think about this? So important. So, and, doing things that are fair and just, for that other person. What is fair? What is even? What is equal? What is balance? How is this going to benefit me and the other person? Choosing to do what is fair and just. And, allowing people to have their opinion, allowing people to speak their truth, and listening to their truth, listening to their perspective, listening to their input and what they have to say. This is so important. And so a sense of understanding where the other person is coming from. So where it is that you need to compromise, not bend over backwards, but compromise. Sometimes you may need to make certain compromises, and it is about you being willing to make those compromises and willing to be adaptable and flexible where, it's not all about you. It doesn't have to be my way. It doesn't have to be what I want, where it's about what you both want as a shared relationship. What do you both want, and how can you both get that, and work together. The energy of synergy. So, so compromise here, adaptability, developing diplomacy skills, peacemaking, not being, super combative or confrontational or, always seeking or starting conflict, but, asserting yourself in a peaceful, diplomatic way. So this can be letting go of unhealthy patterns of selfishness and really considering the we before the me. So this give and take in your relationships from one to the other. You're giving, you're providing, you're caring, and then you're also receiving. It can be very difficult for this placement to receive from the outside, to receive what the other person is giving in terms of advice, input, opinions, and healthy suggestions. And it is about you receiving and being open to people who embody the Libra energy. So again, this is where the North Node and Scorpio placement there can be some confusion with that. So, and really this is about emotional maturity, about evolving the South Node of Aries through the North Node in Libra from a place of wisdom, self-knowledge, and self-awareness. So this is the video that I made on the North Node in Libra in the natal chart, and I hope that you found value and meaning in this. Let me know if it resonated. Let me know what you have done or what you're doing in your life to implement this North Node, balancing out with the South Node, and balancing it out with the South Node. And I look forward to hearing your comments, and I hope that you found this interesting also. So, bye everyone.